I didn't see you, so I was like, oh crap, I really hope she.
Yeah, this is a totally new system from last time, so it took me a minute to figure it out.
Yeah, Google Plus, like the Hangouts part, evidently quit. Like they quit doing it on like September 15th, so we had to like rush for like a different system to use it. But cool, awesome. Well, it's great to have you on. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Where are you coming from?
It's an honor for me to be here. I really appreciate you guys having me. It's been quite a whirlwind. We are actually a Boulder-based company. We haven't even been to Denver yet.
Okay.
When I was planning this, I thought we'd be doing both, but we've been so busy in Boulder that we actually haven't even gone to Denver yet.
Okay.
Which is something I could not have imagined.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure to get your, just so people know too, and I sent out an email with your, like the link to your website, the gingerpigfoodtruck.com, right?
It's just thegingerpigtruck.com.
Thegingerpigtruck.com. Okay, so I'll add that to the little comment section.
And I can see Anthony. Hi. Thank you guys. You guys were actually very helpful for me. When I look back at how I got to where I am, definitely tell everybody that I meet about the Food Truck Academy and
that's awesome.
All the things that I've learned. So I was
just going to start with
kind of my background.
Just tell us like a little bit about like what I guess the last year has been like.
Okay, so
yourself, that sort of thing.
I opened the food truck July 16th. I had been working on it since March of the previous year, so a year and a half before I opened, which I know is pretty unusual. I think most people I've heard spend from 2 to 6 months planning. And I did the extreme. I over-planned. And what I can tell you now after having done that is get going, get started, don't spend so much time planning. My business plan became pretty obsolete the day we opened the door. And, there are so many things. I thought about going back and changing the numbers and putting in the actual numbers versus what we had planned. But I haven't even had a chance. We took the truck out 31 times in October.
Wow. That is awesome.
So the time that I thought I'd have to go and adjust the numbers and things like that has not materialized. I haven't had time. We have been very lucky. We opened July 16th at a food park, and honestly, that's been the key to our success. There's a new food park in Boulder. They opened July 15th. We opened the 16th, and we've just developed a great partnership with them. We're actually the truck that's booked there the most, which for us is a really big deal and a big honor. We're sitting there parked next to trucks that have 2 brick and mortars and their truck.
Wow.
And we're outselling them on certain nights. So we've been really lucky. These are things we could have never imagined. We actually have had some problems because of our success. When I went into this, my 2 biggest fears every day were, will we have anywhere to go, and will our food be good enough? Those haven't been problems. Our problems have been, we just sold 1,500 pot stickers this week.
Wow.
How are we going to make enough how are we going to make more? So the first few months, I was just trying to keep up, and I was putting a lot of money into my labor. I had 3 people 3 days a week making pot stickers just to keep up with the demand. So I quickly realized that was not going to work long term. That if we wanted the Ginger Pig around next summer, that we needed to take the pot stickers either off the menu or buy frozen ones or do something where we weren't spending that kind of labor and that kind of time and money.
Yeah.
So for me,
I guess first of all, before you get into that, tell us like what the Ginger Pig is. Like, what do you serve?
Yes. Sorry about that. So we are a street food truck. I was a Chinese major in college. And then I went to law school. I became an attorney. It was never a good fit for me. I always had a passion for food, but no background in this industry. And I don't know, I think when I took this class, there were 25 entrepreneurs that took it. And it seemed like maybe half had a background in the industry and half didn't, I would guess. Mm-hmm. The best thing that I've done, the best piece of advice I could give anyone who's looking into starting a food truck, or you guys are already starting trucks if you're taking this class, probably not still looking into it. But the best thing I did was going and working at a restaurant. There's nothing that I've done that was more helpful to me than that. I was so green when I walked into this restaurant that I interned at for 5 months that I didn't know what a Cambro was. I don't think I held a knife properly. So really training myself to do, the chef's work. So the Ginger Pigs and Asian street food truck, we have kind of changed. When we first started, we had the same menu every day for the first probably month. And we've now gotten a lot more creative, and we're able to do things like we put a Thai curry on the menu instead of the pot stickers. And the Thai curry I can make on the truck that day. I'm not spending like 8 hours in the commissary prepping it. I can literally make it that morning. So we've just made a lot of really good changes really quickly. Year one, I was told, I have a mentor in Seattle. Her name is Jennifer Lewis. And she told me that year one's about learning, year two's about efficiency, and maybe year three is growth. I haven't even gotten to year three, obviously, thinking about that. But what I was trying to think about some of the things to tell you guys today, and it's just a constant learning process and making changes and being willing to make those changes. I struggled with the pot sticker thing, and that's been a big thing for us because I felt like that was a big part of our identity. And I felt like it was a little disingenuous to take that off the menu. It was part of our story. But I also was like, do we want the ginger pig to be here next summer? The pot stickers are gone. So a lot of hard choices like that, that I would have never even imagined. I had dreams of getting my pot stickers on shelves. And now I look at that and seems pretty daunting. But the food trucking, another thing is it's really hard. I mean, people told me it's really hard. And I thought it would be really hard physically, and I thought the hours would be hard. Like, I was prepared kind of for the physical, like for parts of my body to hurt that have never hurt before. And I'm a former Division I athlete. Like, I'm pretty good at using my body and being in pain. But this has been like, I've had some 20-hour days. I never had a 20-hour day practicing law. Just, as an example. And, but it's really rewarding because it's so hard, obviously, that makes it really rewarding. But I didn't even know people worked 20-hour days until I did this. So, there were times where I got home from the commissary at 2 a.m. and then I was up at 6 a.m. butchering meat, and so some of those things obviously can be avoided with, but I didn't know I was going to be, serving that much food and selling out of that much food. So I've just been adjusting to basically being really busy, which is, I was always imagining we're going to have nowhere to go and who's going to like our food. So the problem solving, and we're in the business of problem solving. That's your job every single day, is problem solving. Like, I've had the most random things that you could imagine happening with the truck. This is a good story. I was going to a brewery one night and my gas pedal was detached from the truck. Like, that's not something you could ever really anticipate, imagine, or even like, is that like, I was just so glad it wasn't the brake pedal, but things like that. And then it's like, what do you do? And like, I've had a problem with my rice cooker and I've had another truck make rice for me. And it's really just being a good problem solver and doing it quickly and not waiting till it's too late, and so I have a lot to say. It's hard for me to tell an hour. I could spend like a week just talking about the things I've learned doing this, and mistakes that I've made, which I now call learning opportunities.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you being here. And I just wanted to mention too, because I don't think I mentioned this right away. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the side, and make sure that, we can get those to Natasha. But I was going to say, so it sounds like one of the big things for you when you started, you got started, you got rolling, you got connected with this food park. How did you find out about this food park? You said it was brand new. How did you get connected with those people?
So it was brand new. They opened July 15th and we opened July 16th there. We actually got approved by the health department on the 15th and opened the next day, which I don't recommend. If I had had more time and ability, I would have spent more time cooking on my truck before we opened. This isn't something that I ever thought I would happen or that I would admit, but the first time we ever cooked on our truck was our first service. And I always imagined we'd like do all this testing for 2 weeks and be all ready, but we actually had a bunch of delays trying to open. And so we felt like we lost half the summer. We had coolant leak into our engine. Our truck wrap got lost in the mail, like a 500 square foot truck wrap lost in the mail. So it was just one delay after another. We were supposed to open May 7th. Then we were opening in June, and then we finally opened in July. And it was, for us, just kind of a big rush to try to get open before it got cold. I think now it was smart to open at the food park, even though we weren't ready, because we've now been able to establish this relationship, and we're booked there 4 or 5, sometimes 6 times a week, which is pretty amazing. And then we've had stretches. I want to caution everybody about overbooking. I have had trouble saying no to people, and I've overbooked a lot. We've done stretches of 10, 13, 9 days out in a row with the truck. And, you know, if you're just doing a dinner service, it sounds like you're just doing a dinner service, but you're getting home at, you know, midnight after doing the cleaning of the truck and the cleaning of the dishes. And it's hard. It's, you know, people always told me that it'd be really hard. And people ask me all the time, if you knew it would be this hard, would you do it again? And my answer is absolutely. It's really hard, but I really love it. It's really rewarding. For me, I've never felt like this happy in my career or this empowered. I've spent a lot of time working in the law and working in sports TV, and they all felt like dead-end jobs. And I feel really happy. I think that it's worth all the hard work. And everything that seems totally daunting, you'll be able to figure out. You know, like for most people around here that have questions, it's always about the paperwork and the getting licensed. And that's the scary part. And then that's over. And there's new scary parts. Like I don't have any food, and I have, you know, that kind of thing. And do we have enough cilantro? And you know, when I tell people about it, I always talk about how much harder it is, like mentally than I would have thought. Like I knew it'd be hard physically, but just knowing, do you have enough limes? Do you have enough cilantro, you know, every day when you're going through big volume and running out? For me, it's been hard because this isn't my background. I'm not a professional chef. So, you know, just keeping up, like we run out of chopsticks, we run out of plates, like things like that I thought would be easier to figure out. But why it's difficult is because you don't know how many people you'll be serving. You know, I mean, for me, I have a day when I can have a $2,000 Sunday and I can have a $100 Sunday. So the range is so big. You know, how much stuff can you fit on the truck? How much stuff, you know, storage is obviously a huge issue. We were very disorganized in the beginning, and it would take time for us even to find the forks on the truck, which now is not a problem. We have very designated places for things. It's very easy for me to find things. And if you're taking a lot of time with your prep and your cleanup and you're worried, you know, about how long it's taking for everything, that all gets faster. When we started this, I would get home sometimes at 2:00 in the morning after a dinner service. And now I always get home before midnight. So we've already shaved in 3 months of being open, almost 4 months. It's 3.5 months. We've shaved at least 2 hours off our cleanup time, which is a lot of time. I feel like I never have enough time. So to be able to make changes and, you know, prep things faster. And I also laid off a lot of employees. That's important. I had, I think, 5 part-time people helping me with production and part-time line cooking that I laid off, which is a lot, you know, and it was hard for me. And but it was the best thing for the Ginger Pig. And I realize now that I have to be able to go do like a Thursday lunch by myself, and it can't be 3 of us. It's just not cost effective. So we've made a lot of changes and made the menu. We have a solo menu that I can do if it's just me, and I'm starting to take the truck out by myself now that it's getting colder here. It's more manageable. My husband and I just did a Saturday night for the first time, just the 2 of us. So it was the first time we ever did a Saturday night. That was last weekend. First time we ever did that with no labor costs. Everybody talks about labor costs and food costs, and they're real, and they're really hard to manage and to keep down. And if you spend any time in the next, you know, couple months before you open, spend time on that, working on those 2 things. That's for me, like, has been really important. And I've been able to look at my accounting from month to month and see some really good changes. Labor costs lower, food costs lower, profit higher. So it's been really great. I'm really enjoying it. I don't want to scare people by saying it's so hard, but I don't think I had any ability to really conceptualize how hard it would be. Even I have a mentor that's been working with me. She's worked in a restaurant for 15 years. She is pretty amazing, she was an executive chef. She's run a restaurant. And she thinks it's hard. So it's, it's not just me because I'm not used to this. It's actually just really hard. But it is really rewarding. And one thing that we've noticed since I've been kind of on the circuit and I'm seeing all these other trucks every day, is a lot of them serve food that's ready to serve. Otherwise known as plop and slop, which is not a nice way to say it, but ready to go. So they're basically just assembling. And so what I've noticed is their output, they can sell probably maybe twice as much food as I can in an hour. And so, when I try to figure out how can I make as much money as the guy next to me, I'm realizing that I'm cooking everything to order and he's assembling stuff. And so that was something that was really interesting for me to kind of learn, like a month into it. I realized, am I doing this all wrong? Should I be making stuff that's easier to, quicker ticket times, easier to get out the window, serve more people? Because we'll have a line of like 20, 30 deep sometimes. And I think about how maybe I shouldn't be cooking stuff to order. But then I remind myself that's what makes us special. And, people like coming to our truck and having food cooked to order, and that the best idea isn't always to copy the person next to you, and change. So we're sticking with our cooking to order, having longer ticket times, and selling less food than maybe the taco truck next to us. But we have a lot of repeat customers. Every day I have people come up and order things that aren't even on our menu, which is pretty exciting, that they liked it so much that they're coming up and trying to get it again, even though it's not there. So I don't know. It's been pretty exciting. I'm happy to answer some questions. I know I'm kind of all over the place just because it's been all over the place last year.
No worries. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, we might as well get to a couple of questions then. Trox is asking, Rayback Collective, is that connected to a brewery or what?
So the Rayback Collective is the Boulder Food Park. It was called the Boulder Food Park, and then they rebranded maybe a month before they opened, and they're called the Rayback Collective. It is a bar. They have 30 beers on tap. They have an indoor space that's an event space where we've actually been doing quite a bit of catering as well. We just started doing a lot more catering in the last month, and that was always a goal of mine, and to move towards corporate catering in the winter. We're actually doing some catering now where we're not even using the truck and we're just dropping off. And that is like after, going out and doing a double where I'm at a food park for 12 straight hours from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. plus the cleanup, plus the prep, to go do a drop-off catering is a pretty good way to spend your time. It's quick, easy money in comparison.
Are catering jobs pretty much coming to you now?
Yes. I actually, I haven't contacted really anyone. I had Left Hand Brewery contact me last week. I've had most people just contact me, which has been a surprise. I thought I'd be like out there, like, pounding the pavement, trying to get in places. And the easiest part of this whole thing for me has been having somewhere to go. We've had a couple office parks contact us, breweries, and we're now working with a company called Cater to Me. If they're in your area, you should check them out. They're in New York, LA, Chicago. They're in a lot of big cities. I think they're in 10 or 12 cities now, and they arrange a lot of corporate catering as well. So definitely look into other people that can help you get gigs catering wise. You give them a percentage, but they get you a gig. That's been helpful. Breweries I thought would be like our big thing that we'd be into, but what I've noticed is we don't make that much money at breweries. And I've actually started saying no to some breweries because for me, I'd rather not go out and make $100 on a Monday night.
Right.
So that's been something that's been interesting. I always thought that was where we were going to go, and We've had a lot. We actually just catered a bat mitzvah, and we're called the Ginger Pig. So
Oh wow.
that was
Yeah,
something I
that's
never thought would
interesting.
happen. Yeah. So everything has just kind of been a surprise, but in a good way.
Why do you say, like, you mentioned breweries as not being so good, obviously, like, earlier in the week, but, like, why is it different in your area versus, you know, maybe other parts of the country?
So I think it could be because there are too many breweries here. The Colorado brewery situation is pretty substantial. Not sure how many there are now. I used to know, and there's more every day. It's such a thing here that I think that it's oversaturated basically. And I've heard in Denver that there are 4 or 5 breweries that are still worth going to and that are awesome. But for me, I can make more money at the food park because at the food park, there's people there that are literally going there to eat at food trucks. And at breweries, I've found there are a lot of people that are going there to drink and not to eat. I do know there's a peanut butter and jelly truck here, and they told me that they can't go to breweries because nobody wants to eat the peanut butter with the beer. And they like doing these neighborhood events because there'll be a lot of kids, and they can make a lot of money at these neighborhood events, but not breweries. My food, I think, works really well with breweries because we have like a Japanese fried chicken. And I notice we sell a lot of that if we do go to a brewery, and I sell less of that at the food park. But I would guess there's just too many breweries. Or I'm not going to the right ones maybe. But there's so many here, it's like kind of absurd.
Yeah, that's definitely like San Diego too. I feel like there's like thousands of microbreweries there, and everybody wants to start their own too.
Right.
Let's see. Question from Chris: are you open for lunch and dinner, or just dinners?
Good question. So when we started, we just did dinners for maybe the first 3 or 4 weeks. And now we do a lot of lunches, a lot of dinners. We do a lot of doubles. In October, I probably had 5 or 6, 7 times where I did a double. I personally don't really like lunches because I'm a night person in general, and I don't feel like I make that much money at lunches. Like I'd almost always rather do a dinner, to the point where I'm now starting to schedule less lunches.
And let's see, follow-up questions to that. And how many people are you feeding on an average with your solo menu when you're just out by yourself?
My solo menu is probably equipped to do like under 50 people. And then like on a really busy Saturday night or a busy Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, we've had, I think the most we did was like 175 tickets. And, you know, a ticket could be, you know, 3 meals on a ticket or whatever. But I never thought we'd do 175 tickets like in year one. I'm not in the whole year, but, you know, on a night in year one. So I was impressed that we could handle that capacity because we are still so new.
Yeah.
And I usually have, on a busy night, when we first started, I'd have 5 people on the truck because we didn't really know exactly what we were doing, and we felt like we needed that many hands. And now the most I'll ever have is 3. Okay. Otherwise, there's just not enough room and not enough to do. And so it's been kind of amazing to go from 5 people to 3 people. And, you know, I'll do even a busy Friday or Saturday night with 2 people now, whereas I used to have 5. So it's cool to, like, if you are, you know, if you do have a lot of people that need that in the beginning, like, rest assured, because you can get faster and get more efficient and lower that. You know, don't be afraid to start with several people to get you going and then cut back a little.
Speaking of people, like, how are you finding good people to hire, I should say? And do you have any tips for hiring the good ones?
Well, what's interesting is I've found someone, I work at a commissary in Boulder, and it seems like a lot of people there work for several companies. I found someone there, and then another food truck owner is going through a construction project. He's making a new trailer, and so he's had some time, so he's helped me. And then my mentor from the restaurant I interned at has been helping me full-time for the last few months, and that's been life-changing, just to have someone who I trust and who really knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a couple times like a mentor. Like, how did you get a mentor? How did you like even go about that process?
So I actually have 2 mentors. I have one on the business side and one in the kitchen. in the kitchen, I went and I interned at a restaurant in Denver, and I literally was just watching this chef cook, and I was so amazed at how she was treating everyone on the line with such respect and how organized she was. And so I literally told her I was starting a food truck, and I asked for help. And I said, do you give lessons? And she looked at me like, no, but we could. And so she said, you should go stage somewhere. And I said, no one will take me. I'm a home cook off the street. Like, I have no experience. I can't go somewhere and stage. And staging is like an internship at a restaurant. For those that are not familiar, I would highly recommend you go do that. Even if it's just for a month, it'll be really helpful, especially if this is not your, native industry. So I asked for help. I went and worked there. I didn't know if I'd be there for a week, a month, a day. I didn't know if I could hang. I just got my first pair of chef shoes. I didn't even bring my own knives the first day. And I was able to just work really hard and earn their respect. And for me, that was pretty special. And they kind of took me under their wing. I was telling them I was interested in culinary school, and they said, we can teach you everything you need to know. And I just kept showing up. The first day I was there, the dishwasher didn't show up, so I offered to do the dishes. And I was able to just kind of, make it so it was a free set of hands, like, please let me come back, and I'll do whatever you ask, just teach. And so it worked out really well. And then my mentor ended up leaving the restaurant, and she's starting her own restaurant. She had this little gap of time in between. So she's come to help me, and I don't know where I'd be without her. So very grateful, very grateful.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. Okay. Chris is also wondering, what about is the population size of Boulder where you're at?
That's a good question. I would guess it's around 100,000. Okay. And I have noticed almost no difference from the summer to when the students came back to town. I thought when the students came back, that we'd have this big rush of increased sales, which I didn't see. So that's also, if you're working in a college town, that's something to know that I didn't see that.
Okay. Interesting. They've all got their meal plans, I guess.
Right.
Britt is asking too, who actually looks like she's from Fort Collins. What commissary do you use, and how did you pick it or find it?
So I use the only commissary in Boulder that allows food trucks. So I picked it based on not having any other choices. However, I have met some of the nicest people at this commissary, and super inspiring. I mean, there are people I see every day that have their products on the shelves at Whole Foods. That's pretty cool. And there are a few other food trucks there. The commissary has been really a really cool part for me with this process. That was something where it was just you need to have a commissary agreement to get a license. Okay, I'll do it. But it's actually been really cool. I've learned a lot. I had one of the guys there showed me how to clean my truck floor. Someone else showed me how to clean my griddle. People are really helpful and want to help each other. And it's been kind of a special thing to be a part of. And I've met a lot of really cool, inspiring food entrepreneurs.
That's awesome.
When choosing a commissary, though, I did make a list of all the ones in Denver and Boulder, and I went and visited 3 in Denver and chose. I really wanted to be Boulder-based, and I heard there's between 400 and 700 trucks in Denver, and so I wanted to kind of not go down to Denver and be a part of that. I didn't think that I could really establish myself in that market. And in Boulder, I just don't have much competition. There's a couple other Asian food trucks. There's one that does pho and one that does ramen. And then there's a cart that does Japanese kebabs. So I really don't have much competition there, and that's kind of what sent me to Boulder. I live 20 minutes from Denver and 20 minutes from Boulder, so I could have done either.
Right.
You talked a little bit about looking in Denver for a commissary, and I'm assuming that you thought about serving in both Boulder and Denver. And I think earlier you said you are not currently thinking about serving in Denver. But how much more legwork would it be to get you also in Denver?
It'd be pretty easy. They only do the licensing on Wednesdays. I have had very few Wednesdays where I didn't have lunch or dinner service to go down there and do the inspection. It is something that we want to do. We haven't needed to yet. We've been just going kind of around the suburbs of Boulder to breweries, and then all our catering's been in Boulder. So it's just more of a timing thing than we're not avoiding it. We just don't feel like we need it, which is completely shocking to us. So.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Brandon and Carissa were wondering too. We like your website. Who did it for you? And I also love it, especially that huge hero image. That's like a great shot of like your truck.
Thank you. My next door neighbor actually took that photo. She's a professional photographer, and she works in Boulder at a kombucha factory that's right around the corner from our commissary. So that's kind of fun.
Oh, wow.
My website was designed by Clyde Sadler Designs. She's out of New Haven, Connecticut. She has been a personal friend of mine since we were in 8th grade. So for me, it was really special to have her do the website, she designed my truck wrap, my logo. She does my blog. She's amazing. And she's definitely interested in doing more food truck specific stuff. So I could probably get some sort of discount through the class or something if we wanted to set something like that up.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to put her, I don't know if you see the little chat bar there too, if you are able to put in either her website or contact info, or send an email later, that works too.
Okay, cool. I'll just put her name really quick so you could look it up. But she's very talented, and she's a personal friend of mine, and I'm sure she would love to hook anybody up that's from the class. So
very cool. Very cool.
I was going to say something about the website.
I should ask you, have you done like do you do anything special on Facebook or social media or on your website or anything like that?
I found that I'm using it less than I thought. Like, I actually came from the social media background. I used to do social media stuff for the Rockies baseball team during their live broadcasts. And so I was like, oh, well, with my background, like, I'm going to kill it with the social media. Mm-hmm. And I found that, like, most days I'm just trying so hard to get open for service on time that I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to post we're here today.
Yeah.
And I really thought it was going to be something that I was really into and was really important for our business. But I find that I'm using it less than I would have thought. And I should probably be using it more, would be what I think.
Cool. Yeah. Good to know.
Yeah. And I just use Twitter and Facebook. I know that I should probably start using Instagram.
Yeah.
As well. We've had some repeat customers that come up and they, have eaten at our truck 10 or 15 times. I never thought somebody would eat at our truck 10 or 15 times in a year, not in 3 months. I've actually kind of held back a little on the social media just because I haven't needed it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which is surprising.
Hey, that's great. Yeah.
And this is actually important and something that to celebrate, and that we actually made back the purchase price of our truck. We purchased our truck for $50,000. Mm-hmm. We made back that purchase price. Made back that purchase price on day 60 of being open.
Duh, that is so awesome! Congratulations!
That was really
you're already
fast.
Yeah, you're already in the black then. Awesome.
What's that?
You're already in the black, and you've literally been operating like not even 6 months then.
Right, because we just opened July 16th, so it'll be in like 8 days. It'll be 4 months.
That's awesome.
So, it was day 60 and I pressed the number on our Square dashboard to see where we hit, and we hit that number, and I was very shocked and pleased. And I don't think that's normal.
Yeah.
I don't think awesome. People can go out and expect that, but we were very lucky with our this food park, and then just getting booked a lot and doing caterings, and we've just been very lucky. I realize, a lot of this is luck.
Yeah. I was going to say, so, I mean, you're located in Boulder. I know it doesn't get as cold as like if you were living in Canada, right? But it's also not like you're super far south. Like, you definitely have a winter, even though it's maybe, a little bit shorter than if you went 10 hours north or something. But are you doing anything to kind of and I know you said you're just being alone on the truck a lot of times, and you're going to try to get some more catering gigs in the winter. But are you like preparing for kind of some slower revenue months in like just December, January, February?
Definitely.
Okay.
I've been actually asking people, other food truck owners and everyone at the commissary, like how people deal with the winter here. And originally in my business plan, I had planned on closing for the month of December just because I thought there'll be no work, and that sounds really awesome.
Yeah.
And I told another food truck owner that, and he was like, no way, that's when you'll do all sorts of Christmas parties. He said, do not close in December. And so far, I don't have any Christmas parties booked, but I have a pretty busy December. I'm at the food park, I think 12 times. I've got 2 different breweries that I'm going to, a few dates in December. I had someone reach out yesterday and book a couple dates at an office park of 750 people where they just lost their cafeteria and they're going to food trucks instead. So I'm having no problem staying busy. We have days in Colorado, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Colorado, that are 20 and that are 60 in probably November, December, January. So we have days where it's 60 and sunny, like 63 and sunny, on a January day, or 20 or 10. So it's going to be really hard to predict. I'm kind of bracing myself. Fortunately, I'm a mile away from the food park at the commissary, so I'm kind of a good person who can fill in when other trucks can't make it. I've kind of made a living filling in for people and saying yes. And because I've done all that, I get booked a lot. I don't know if that's how it works everywhere, but that's how it's worked for me. People are really glad that I say yes, and so then I get booked a lot. So we're planning on just staying open and going through. I've heard of only a couple trucks here that closed for the winter. I've asked some breweries because they work with so many different trucks, and they say they only know like 1 or 2 trucks that close. So I'm kind of staying open, and we'll see how it goes. But this is our first winter. I don't know what it'll be like. I imagine there'll be days where I can't get to my scheduled event, and it'll be snowy. And I'm just going to do the best I can, I guess. I don't want to close. I'm afraid of losing the momentum and getting rusty. I feel like we just in the last month kind of figured everything out, really kind of nailed everything down, and I don't want to let up, I guess. I'm kind of a workaholic.
I can tell.
But you kind of need to be to do this well.
Yeah, that's essential.
I know one girl at my commissary who only takes her cart out 3 days a week. And I'm kind of jealous, but I'm kind of like, I want to go work. So I think it's a balancing act. And I am going to try to do a little bit less, maybe go down to 4 days a week out with the truck, 3 or 4 instead of 6 or 7. Just while it gets cold.
Right.
And because I don't want to burn myself out.
Well, I'm sure that's how a lot more catering gigs too come, and you meet more people the more you're out, that sort of thing. So
right.
Snowballs. Yeah. Trox recommends Christmas parades and that his wife does concessions in North Carolina, and it does real well. There you go, Christmas parades. And actually, BritFix is in Fort Collins. Says they're ranked number 3 for craft breweries there, only behind Boulder. So your information about breweries was super interesting, since she thought that's kind of where the primary money was too. So that's
and I've been going
awesome
to
that you can share your kind of experience with it.
Big breweries, like breweries that have distribution all over Colorado, like Upslope Brewing. When they contacted me, I was like, wow, they're a brewery we've been to. We have their growler. I'm so excited. And it's just not a lot of money at a brewery. I don't know. I've actually heard that if you can go to breweries that are outside Boulder, more in the suburbs, like Lafayette, Longmont, Louisville, that you'll get more people because those bedroom communities, they don't have anywhere really to go have dinner. So it might just be that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a good tip. I guess, okay, so you've been operating, we'll say, since July, obviously you were planning, for months before that. But if you had like one big tip, one big piece of advice for folks that haven't done it before, like what would you focus working on right now, like during this planning stage? And I know you basically said that you threw your business plan out the window when you started.
Yeah. I would say go work on a truck. If it's for a day, a week, you'll pick up little nuances. Oh, this is how they store this. This is what they do with this. I should have mentioned, I've actually worked on another truck in Boulder called Cuban Fusion. It's a Cuban sandwich truck. And one night the woman just needed some help, and I was like, I'll go help her. I could probably learn a lot, So I've helped on a couple other trucks, and I picked up a few other things. I would say go work on a truck, and that's something I wish I had done before. It was great. I went to go work at a restaurant, but restaurants and trucks are not the same, and not even a little the same. And most people that I've talked to say that food trucking is a lot harder than working at a restaurant, which surprises me because working at a restaurant is pretty hard.
Yeah.
But imagine you go camping every day before and after service. That's what it's like. You're packing up to like go camping and then going and doing service and then unpacking.
That's a great analogy too. Because like not only do you have to like pack up and clean up every day, but then like you said, all these little issues that pop up, you have to like fix on the fly. You have nowhere else to go but to figure this out right now.
Right. I remember you talking pretty extensively about extension cords. And I thought that was pretty funny. And then I had a problem with it, like I couldn't plug in at the food park and which adapter and blah, blah, blah. And then I went and bought a $200 extension cord that I can barely carry because it's so heavy. But like little things like that are a big deal, adapters and plugging in. And plugging in is amazing. If you can ever plug in, definitely do that. I've started to see how much propane costs and how much we go through it. So for me, I have a propane powered generator and a propane, my line is powered by propane as well. And I have 200-gallon tanks. So that's the max you can carry on a food truck here. And we still are filling it up more than once a week right now. So to be able to plug in is really helpful. Anything you can do, obviously, to save costs, everybody knows, but to really spend your time trying to figure out how to save those costs. Like I use an accountant that's $400 a month. And I just found out from a buddy at the commissary that his accountant costs $40, and that the commissary just switched from my old accountant to this new one. So I'm about to switch and save $360 a month at just my accounting. So there's always a cheaper way to do everything. And in the beginning, I was really worried about taking any kind of shortcuts. And I was really proud of the fact that like we made our own egg rolls, and now we buy egg rolls and sell them. And I feel kind of guilty, but I'm like, I'm going to be in business next year. So, those kinds of things have been hard to change. But I have to really look out for our long-term and not just, the short term.
You talked about going through like 200 gallons of propane a week. What is your kitchen equipment? What kitchen equipment do you have, I should say?
Good question. So I actually changed my whole line. I bought the truck and it had a huge oven, 4 burners, a huge flat top, and a huge grill. And I did not want an oven at all because it does get to be over 90 degrees like 30 days at least a year here. So I didn't want a big oven. I had no use for an oven. So I switched that out and I put in 2 big fryers, like restaurant style fryers. Like they each have 2 pretty big baskets. I think they're 40-pound fryers. So I have those. Then I have a griddle, a grill, and a 4-burner. But we do a lot of prep now on the truck. So I think we're going through more propane because of that. And then we keep it on all during service. And then clean up.
During service, do you have all of those surfaces on at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
We've been having the grill on a little less lately because we have not been selling lamb kebabs recently. So we've been leaving the grill off. It's been really fun to change the menu. Like one of the most fun things for me has been to show up and do a special. Like yesterday we did a lunch at a office and we showed up and we had no curry on the menu, which upset people. A couple people came out and wanted the curry. But we had tempura for the first time. We had shrimp tempura and veggie tempura, and it was pretty cool. Like, I've noticed the things that get me really excited every day are changing the menu. Don't be afraid to change your menu. People like, at least where I am, people come up and they say they're really excited about trying something new. Mm-hmm. And I know in the first month we had this very static menu and I was getting bored. I think they were probably getting bored. And so that's been really rewarding for me to just show up with something new.
Speaking of changing the menu, have you had an instance where you like ran out of stuff on the truck and you need to make a new menu item on the fly?
Yes, we have. I was also going to mention too that we actually have a menu item that we use all the time now that I'm pretty sure one of our customers created. We're in Boulder, so that's one of the most gluten-free places on earth. And we have a very gluten-free, forward-leaning menu. But we had banh mi sandwiches, and I was driving down to Denver to this Vietnamese bakery to get this special Vietnamese bread and serving banh mi's. And somebody came up and they're like, can I just have the banh mi like over rice? And we were like, sure. And so now we have a banh mi rice bowl on our menu like almost 3 or 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. It's been a really fun thing that kind of no one else around here has. And I can change the protein. So it'll just be like rice, and then we make our own carrots and daikon pickled, put cucumber, put jalapeno. We make a spicy Asian aioli that we put on it with jalapeno and cilantro. And then we've been doing like braised pork, which is pretty cheap and easy. We started out with lamb, which is expensive. So little things like that. And it gives me a lot of flexibility. I can do a tofu banh mi rice bowl, a chicken, a pork. And we've lately been doing pork belly fried rice, which when we have pork belly on the menu, it's like crack. And I can put it in any form and it'll sell more than anything else. So we've been doing Korean chicken wings lately. Whenever we put something new on the menu, it sells more than anything else. So that's been kind of interesting to me too.
Was there a huge difference in food costs between the rice bowl and the sandwich?
Not too much of a difference, actually. It's a little bit, it cost me 45 cents for a piece of the bread, and rice is pretty cheap. So it's not that different, but it's been, being in such a gluten-free place, it's been really like flying off the shelf, so to speak. You know, like people are really into it. So we've been selling a lot of them. It's been cool. I like the bread personally, and we still do the bread sometimes, or we'll offer both.
Right.
It's a really nice option to not have to drive to Denver and get the bread, and then I can still put it on the menu. We usually have a pretty big menu, like maybe 6 or 7 things, 7, 8 things. I've always been told my menu's too big by everybody else. And then one day when I went by myself and I did a Sunday night by myself, I had a 4-item menu, and it felt really uncomfortable to me, like too small.
Yeah.
What kind of food trucks is everybody starting? I want to hear about you guys. Exciting. I use Thai
while you're responding to that, a couple of questions. Trox is wondering if you are buying generic or do you have a local supplier for those egg rolls?
So I have tried a few things. I was using Shamrock, who is a big food supplier here that delivers. They actually came and gave me some samples. So I tried maybe 4 or 5 different ones and picked one that I liked. I also go to Restaurant Depot. Do you guys all know Restaurant Depot or have Restaurant Depot? They have really good prices on things. I've found Restaurant Depot to be cheaper than Costco, also cheaper than Shamrock. Shamrock, you're paying for the delivery fee, and it's awesome to like get a lot of stuff from them and get grill bricks and mops and gloves and, you know, all those paper products you need. But for me, actually, this is a good story really quick. I was using Shamrock in the beginning, and I was paying $6.15 for a pound of lamb leg. I went to a local butcher that I've known in town for a while that lives close to me, and they were able to cut out the middleman and buy directly from Stillman Meats in Denver. And I was then getting lamb for $3.75 a pound. It's that big of a difference to cut out the middleman. So I would say be so careful with your food costs. I mean, you really don't need to pay $6.15 if you can pay $3.75. They were the exact same product from the same place. I learned that like week 3 or 4, and that was one of the best things that's happened to me, is to stop getting my produce from those guys because it was so expensive. I was getting chicken thighs. I think I was getting for $3.15, and then I was able to get it at $1.29 by cutting out the middleman. So wherever you're getting your food, get it somewhere else that's cheaper. That's how I feel.
Question actually on the food topic, what kind of rice do you use?
I use Thai jasmine rice, and I have gotten it from Shamrock, Costco, the Asian market. I've tried several places, and I'm now exclusively getting it from Costco. It's cheaper, and they seem to move it quick enough that it does not have bugs in it. I received a pretty
although the added protein can be nice.
I received a 250-pound bag of rice from Shamrock with bugs, so I will not get rice from Shamrock anymore.
So food trucks. We got meatball food truck, pierogi truck, fried pizza truck, which sounds really good, gourmet taco truck, coffee truck, and then we've also got Korean beef taco truck. And follow-up question to that too from Chris: what cut of beef to use if you do anything like that on your truck?
So I do have a bulgogi salad on my catering menu, and I use top sirloin, and I put pear in my bulgogi sauce. I would recommend putting pear in there. That's the secret.
Wow. Yum.
Yes, and any kind of tacos. We actually sold tacos one day, and we've sold a burger. I never thought it would upset people so much. We were at the food park, and we had something called a ginger cow burger instead of ginger pig, and there was a burger truck there, and they got really upset. They're like, "You're Asian street food, like you should be selling Asian food. Like, why are you selling a burger?"
Gotcha. That's what we do, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also was kind of like, dude, you should come up to the park and be like, I have the best burger in town. Bring it. So that's kind of how I felt about that. But we have sold tacos and burgers, and we've done things as specials, which has been really fun. Like, let yourself be creative. And I always felt like I had to be so rigid and stick to this, very specific menu. And it really took a lot of the fun out of it, to be honest. And, you're your own boss. You like to eat, or you wouldn't be doing this. Feel free to put something on the menu that's like fun for you. I mean, the things that I like and that I think are fun are the things that we sell a lot of. So it's been very surprising. I never thought people would be so into our food. It's very cool. Like, I've had people tell me they dream about it and stuff. As a home cook, that's not something I thought I'd ever hear,
That's awesome.
That makes it all worthwhile.
It is.
Trox is wondering, do you find yourself driving all over to source your products? That's a good question.
That is such a good question. And that's been something I've been kind of struggling with. How much is it worth, for me to just get it delivered? Do I want to pay an extra $100 and not have to deal with anything? And maybe sleep 2 extra hours? Maybe that's a good use of that $100. Do I want to go to Restaurant Depot? Do I want to drive all over? I had a lot of people tell me that I will exhaust myself and drive myself crazy if I do that, if I'm going and driving everywhere. So I chose to not do that. And I chose to get Shamrock and go to the Asian market once a week. And I found it to be too expensive. And so now I'm kind of back to driving around a lot. I'm trying to limit it to once a week that I go to Restaurant Depot or go to Costco or, but it is a good way to exhaust yourself to be doing all that buying. But you're also in way more control over how much you're spending. And for me, because you don't know how much you're going to sell every day, getting a weekly delivery of a large amount of certain things wasn't always working. I would end up throwing out scallions or running out of cilantro. And maybe that's something that in year 2 I'll get better at predicting how much I need of everything. But I also would recommend real quick a storage unit. That was one of the best pieces of advice that I got from the people at my commissary. All the other truck owners there have a storage unit right down the street. Because I have a storage unit, I am able to buy boxes of 1,000 chopsticks, boxes of, whatever it is. I have big number 10 cans of coconut milk all stacked in there. And then when I do buy in bulk, I'm saving money. So if you do have the room, there are certain things that you should buy in bulk and save. I feel like this part is something I'm getting better at every week. I'm spending less money on food. If you look at my month to month to month, it's just going down, 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 my food costs. And my sales are going up, up, up. So that was a nice thing to see. But if you can kind of construct it in a way that you're consciously figuring out how to save money on food, that energy you're using by driving around won't feel so bad. Like for me, it feels worth it to go to Restaurant Depot to save the money, So I've done it both ways over the last 3.5 months. And I'm now at the point where I'd rather go drive and buy things that are cheaper.
And I know we're kind of getting at the 1 hour mark, but I want to make sure and ask this one thing too to you before we let you go, because I think it's just important. We haven't really talked about it. You mentioned your husband's been involved and helps you on the food truck. How important do you think getting your significant other on board with the food truck is it being
it's
successful?
Tremendously important because I'm not here very much anymore. And I think it's good for him to understand why, and I have his help a lot. My husband has a full-time job at Miller Coors, but he also is a 50% owner. We're 50-50 owners. He does a lot of he works 2 to 10. So we're really lucky because I have the mornings to have his help. Mm-hmm. So he goes and gets propane. He goes and gets diesel fuel. He goes and dumps the oil out of our fryers. He does all the really hard stuff that I can do as well. I'm able to do those things. But it's been a tremendous help to have that help and to have his extra set of hands and even just going to get more ice. In the beginning, every day was what do we need? What do we not have? And it was always helpful to have kind of a rover be able to go grab something. We're at the point now where when we don't have something, now we figure out how to operate without that thing instead of having someone go grab it. Mm-hmm. So that's been a big change. Like Anthony was saying, do we make something that's not on the menu, kind of make adjustments on the fly? So in the beginning, let's say we're making pad thai and we run out of carrots or something, we would have 86'd pad thai. And now I'm just put peas in it. I'm much more flexible than I used to be in terms of leaving things out or stretching things, which I never thought I would do. This is probably 4 orders. Let's stretch it into 5. I never thought about that before. But you get in situations where that's kind of the only thing you can do. And, we've had situations where we run out of rice and we're making more rice because we have 2 rice cookers, but we didn't time it perfectly enough. And so there'll be a 10 or 15 minute wait on rice. And there are some people that are super happy to wait that 10 or 15 minutes. Or there are some people that just would rather have you put their curry on a bed of veggies or on a bed of egg rolls. I would never normally want to sell curry on egg rolls and feel really cool putting that out there. But I've become more flexible and I've realized that, I need to be really flexible. And that that was hard for me. I was very rigid in the beginning. And I think that's been really important to our success, is to be able to just be flexible and be able to change and be able to, we're out of to-go boxes. We started using Chinese to-go boxes, which look really cool. And I think they attract other people to our truck because they're seeing other people carry them, and then the other day we ran out and I had to serve curry on a plate and it looked awful. But I was just we're going to serve curry on a plate to this person, So it's a lot of learning. I like learning. If you like learning, this is the job for you because you will never learn more. I learn so much every day. I feel so alive. If you're wanting that feeling of feeling alive, you should go do this.
Cool. Well, really appreciate your time. I guess any parting words? I think this has been super valuable. If there's any kind of final questions that anybody has, feel free to type them in now, but I think this is awesome. I think you were totally like straightforward about like what your experience has been like the good, the bad, and kind of how you've grown over that time period. So yeah, it was awesome speaking with you and awesome catching up with you.
Thank you. It's been really cool. I feel like you guys are a big part of this success we've had. And I want to give you guys my email address and phone number if anyone has any questions, they want to contact me personally. I'd be really happy to help. I know this is really hard and you need help, and nobody can do this by themselves. Like I thought it would just be my husband and I thought we could do it. And we at one point had 3 full-time employees and 5 part-time employees, which, managing people is hard. So if you've never done that before, I spend a lot of time trying to get better at that every day. So, but it's been really rewarding and really fun. And I've met some really great people, like really like-minded, down-to-earth, courageous entrepreneurs that are willing to do this. And, people tell me you have to be crazy to do this, and you have to be a little crazy to do this. It's really hard. I mean, I've worked hard in my life before, but nothing's ever even come close to this.
Yeah.
It's really rewarding.
Very good. Well, yeah, I've got a bunch of comments from people too. Thank you very much for coming. Very useful. Thank you for sharing.
Cool.
Please and thank you for your contact information.
Yeah, let me give that to you right now.
Make sure to type that in for sure. And I'll make sure to send this out to everybody too, if it's okay with you.
Totally. And if anyone's ever in Colorado, please
address.
Come say hi. Say you're part of this academy, and I'll give you a free meal.
There we go.
Yeah, Brett, aren't you supposed to come
in Fort Collins? You better take her up
try the food
on that.
Are you supposed to come try the food at some point?
I would love to. I should. Man, I have not been out to Colorado in like so long. I love it. I love it there. Like I've literally only been there like twice in my entire life. But
it's really nice here.
I definitely understand why like people like live there and want to move there and that sort of
right. We actually, one last thing. So my husband and I had originally planned on doing this totally together. We thought that eventually he'd quit his job and we would just run the Ginger Pig, the two of us. Being, I guess, 3.5 months into being open and like a year and a half of work, a little longer than a year and a half working on this, like that seems less likely. It feels really good and safe that he has a job, like while we're doing this.
Yep.
So that's been something, and he's found that it's not really his forte. Like he's not super in love with it the way I am.
Right.
Like he likes it and he's willing to help, but if he's not like, oh, I'm living my dream. And so that was an interesting thing for us to kind of encounter as we went through it. But it feels fine. It feels like I can just hire someone to do what he's doing. It doesn't feel like a problem. I have his support and he helps a lot in any way he can, but finding out it wasn't like his thing is totally fine. But it's definitely my thing, and I'm going to do whatever I can to do it well every day. So
cool.
But yeah, if you guys have a business partner, I've seen that go really well. I've seen it not go well with other trucks around here. I just saw someone break up with their business partner at my commissary, and it's hard. But it's, you can do it. All it takes is wanting to do it and putting in the effort, and you can do it and you can do it well. Right? I mean,
right on.
If you're willing
to great way to end it.
Like this, you probably got what it takes to do it, right? I mean, how many trucks are in the park? So that's a really good question. Normally, there are only 4 trucks at this park because there's a law in Boulder that they can only have 4 trucks at one place at a time. People are trying to actively get that law changed. I know in Denver, there's a thing called Civic Center Eats where there's usually 20 to 30 trucks at a time. So this is a very unique law in Boulder that's keeping the count so low. Because there are only 4 trucks at the park, at one time, it is hard to get into the park as a truck. That's why we feel so lucky that we're scheduled there so much, because there's usually 2 trucks for lunch and 4 for dinner, and they rotate. So I'm trying to think of, if I didn't have the park, would I still be in business? And the answer, when I think about it, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'd never be in business without this food park. But then I realize like who I am and how I made this happen. And I'm like, no, I would figure it out. I would go, to every office building I could until I got in. But I do realize that the Ginger Pig has been really successful in large part due to the Boulder Food Park. So if you have something like that in your town that you can go start talking to them now before you open, go do it. I think I started talking to the Boulder Food Park 3 or 4 months before we opened and established, that we were on the horizon, we were going to be there. There's no one like us around, give us a chance. All you need to do is ask people to give you a chance. And it's pretty rewarding what you can do with that chance.
Very awesome. Cool. Thanks again so much, Natasha.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, I know everyone else really appreciates it too. This is totally awesome. I'll be sure to send out your email to everyone if it's okay.
Totally. And I'm really happy to help.
Questions.
Like, I feel like the reason that I've done so well at this is because I've gotten tremendous help from Brett, Anthony, my mentor in Seattle, my mentor here. It's really important to have people you can ask questions to. I would really strongly recommend getting an accountant. Even if you like sitting and doing number crunching, you will not have time. You just won't. There's no time to do stuff like that if you're going to be literally food trucking, and if you have time for the accounting,
it's probably
I just can't even imagine having time to do that. So I would recommend getting an accountant. The person in Fort Collins should have coffee with me, or a beer would maybe be better.
That'd be more appropriate in Fort Collins.
Yeah. I'd love to help. So please, guys, please feel free to reach out. I've literally been doing this. I have an 80-page business plan I could send you if you want to look at it. But I would recommend going and getting dirty and going and doing dishes and going and cooking. And, I didn't know what a Cambro was when I started. So depending on your level of experience, I think put your time and energy into that, into going and being on a truck, not writing. I know you have to write a business plan for this class, and it is very useful, but I do really recommend going and doing it. There's nothing that is more helpful than that. I think Anthony would agree with that.
Oh, for sure. I tried to reiterate week 1, it's going to be hard, but I can't express how hard it's going to be. You have to experience it.
You can't really express it, and it's when I try to explain it to people, I can't even explain it. I just imagine parts of your body that you didn't know can hurt. It's very physically demanding, right?
Yeah, and mentally.
Mentally too. Yes. But it's awesome. I feel very empowered and in charge of my own life. You'll feel that way too, and that'll be really rewarding. I mean, obviously something happened in your life to bring you to this point, to make you feel like you wanted to do this, and go do it. Don't be scared. It's scary, but don't be scared. You can do it.
Yeah. It's worth it just for the stories alone.
Yeah. There's some good stories. That's for sure. I had, coolant leak into my engine, and that could happen to any vehicle at any time, and you just never know what's going to happen tomorrow, but know that you're ready and you're a good problem solver and you'll fix it. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I keep telling myself.
Awesome. Well, thanks again so much. If there's one thing you can take away from this, it's that your body will hurt and that your brain will hurt as a food truck owner.
And I don't mean to scare you, but it's you're taking on something serious.
Cool. Well, thanks for your time, everyone. Natasha, I'll shoot you an email after this. Really appreciate your time, though. This is so awesome.
Cool. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.